hello, fellow humans. I come today with a public service announcement that solar is totally possible. We currently live in a rare, unprecedented time where we have the technology and the capacity to use renewable energy. It actually has happened. I'm pretty sure a lot of the facts I'm going to give you today are accurate. The cost of running and maintaining renewable energy, not necessarily considering storage, it's another conversation, solar specifically and wind have now become cheaper than fossil fuel as in terms of energy production. Storage, intermittency, separate conversations. That said, we are at a point where we can rely on renewables. And I have come to tell you that it is totally possible to do it yourself. Or at least in my case, I did have the help of some choice friends and family. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Dad. And thanks, Jim. This is a 17.2 kilowatt array. That is 36 panels, 480 watts per panel. It's been live for proud of a month and a half, and it has, I've run it in off-grid mode, fully off-grid. I've got batteries, I'll show you that in a second. I'm currently backfeeding the grid. I produce about, I'd say, $12 worth of electricity a day, and my utility company pays me for that. And so the net is you can become your own solar plant if you want to, and it's not that hard to either do it yourself or hire a professional. I chose the DIY because, well, it's just kind of who I am, and it's what I like to do. And yeah, I had some support and some guidance along the way. So it's quite a process, but it was super fun. And so, yeah, this is a ground mount array. It's south facing, and yeah, I mean, we live in a valley, so I am not the optimal candidate for solar, but this valley does get a lot of sun still. And I chose a ground mount because I didn't want to replace my roof. It's just a choice I wanted to make. So that said, it's probably the best decision, at least financial investment decision I've made. Systems on average pay themselves off within some as little as 7 years. It really depends on the size and whether or not you get storage, which is another conversation. Yeah, my system will probably pay itself off in 11 years or so. And it is a 25-year system life. That is, at least an average. A lot of these, there are still solar panels that were created in the 1970s that are still live. So the panels have a warranty of 20 or 25 years. So that said, it just made sense for me, and I have plans to, I've gone 17.2 kilowatts is quite a large array. Most people can get by on 10 or 11, but I wanted a provision for an electric vehicle. Yeah, I wanted to also feed as much energy to the grid as humanly possible. In other words, we don't have to wait for the government or for, honestly, the fossil fuel industry or for the current power plant infrastructure to catch up. We can today begin feeding back the grid with our own produced energy. We can make the grid green. And that's huge. I'm in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is mostly natural gas and coal. I think it's like, last I checked, maybe 7% renewable energy on the grid. And so, anywho, that's changing thanks to, well, politics, right? I'm not going to go there. So, in short, though, I will get a 30% rebate thanks to politics and on the whole system, and it will pay itself off. I'm going to walk you into my messy garage, and I'll turn a light on too while we're at it. This is where the guts are hosted. Walk you really quickly and show you. So there's a huge hole in my driveway. I mentioned Jim earlier. We had to get a trencher, and we trenched a drop basically an underground drop. And there's a wire that runs all the way from that solar panel array down across my driveway and into my garage. And so anyways, I'm showing you this now because this gives some perspective of, I did this for several reasons. One, I want to backfeed the grid with green energy. I want to ease the transition away from fossil fuels. Huge, huge incentive for me. That said, not everybody holds those values. Some people want resiliency. On average, we're out of electricity, I would say, maybe 6 hours every year. That is significant, especially when you work from home and you have food in the refrigerator and freezer, and sometimes more. There have been times where I'm in a rural area, out of electricity for 2+ days when a tornado or flooding happens. And so this is the answer, right? This is about 30 kilowatt hours of batteries. That's about enough to run my home for 16, 24 hours. It really depends on how much you're consuming, right? These are lithium iron phosphate batteries. You can drain them all the way down to zero and still get a lot of cycles. Those are rated for 5,000 cycles over the course of their lifetime. So lots of cycles. So that means going from 100 to 0, and most of the time I just keep them topped off. The other component I'll point out is that there is an inverter. If anybody's in the inverter market, I highly recommend Solarc. This is a 15 kilowatt inverter. That means it can take the DC from the solar panels or the DC from the batteries and turn it into AC, which is what all of the appliances in the household use. And it can also backfeed to the grid, which is AC. So converts DC to AC, and so that's its basic job. And it's super neat. Like, I've got all sorts of monitoring software. Like, I get to every day wake up and be like, well, how much energy did I produce yesterday? And I produced 100 kilowatt hours. Cool. The other really big thing I'll say is that my utility pays me 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That is the retail rate to backfeed the grid. Most people will not get that. I'm in an exceptional territory. But still, your energy company will pay you to feed the grid. And if it doesn't, it's going to change probably in some capacity. There's a lot to say about that. Virtual power plants, for those who are familiar, a lot of things changing in the sort of future of how we produce energy. We are going to go from a sort of macro sort of production, I hope, to micro production. In other words, many homes feeding one grid, becoming a virtual power plant. Tesla's pioneering a lot of this stuff, so super cool. Anywho, so that's the inverter. And the other thing the inverter can do is we have an old generator that I fixed up with my dad's help. Thank you, Dad. And basically that generator, when there's not sun shining, this inverter can take the AC coming from that generator and charge the batteries. And what that allows me to do is run all of my home off of the batteries and keep the batteries topped off using the generator. So super, super cool stuff. So I really want to invite all of you beautiful humans out there to evaluate. One, look at your electric bill, step one. Two, ask where maybe your energy is coming from and if you want that to change. Three, ask if you care about energy independence. And if the answer to that last question is yes, and if you care about where your energy comes from, I really, really, really want to share this solar success story with you, because to me, it is just so empowering and so relieving to know that I can create the change that I want to see in this world, that future generations have a better chance, or at least than they used to, a better chance than they used to, I'll put it that way. So I'm excited about this change, and I just wanted to let you all know that it is possible to do it yourself. And if you want to hire a contractor, check out EnergySage.com. They are a sort of marketplace where energy contractors, solar contractors, can make bids against each other for the win of your installation. And so, yeah, any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to support, advocate, answer any questions I possibly can. Yeah, it's freaking cool. Yeah, Godspeed, human family. Godspeed.